Hello, my name is John, and I'm going to show you why sometimes doing nothing is the best way to invest. Okay, that isn't actually the point of this video. The point is to look at how the FundLogik system operated during the recent political upheaval and to show you how the FundLogik system handled our investments. Now, because the 24/7 news cycle has already moved on, let's just recall that we've gone through a major political crisis. Now, just like every other year, Congress has failed to pass the 12 appropriation bills that make up the U.S. budget on time for the new fiscal year, which started on October 1st. Here you can see a chart to show that this is not an unusual occurrence. And for the 74th time since the concept was introduced in 1917, the debt ceiling needed to be hiked. This time, as happens from time to time, both sides cooperated to manufacture a crisis to score political points. The solution? Well, for the 18th time since 1976, close down part of the government and for good measure talk about which obligations to default on, and then point fingers at each other. But there were two things that the market wanted to tell us. First, investors were willing to bet real money that nothing substantial was going on. Both the Treasury market and the stock market barely wobbled. The underlying fundamentals of the economy are still on the mend, and interest rates are low. Funny how little coverage those 2 points rated. So how does that look on the FundLogik system? Well, here is our basic portfolio. In it, we have 6 ETFs. 4 of them represent different stock categories. We also have a commodity fund and a fund for long-term treasuries. As you'll notice, it only holds one ETF at a time, unless they're all stinkers, in which case it'll recommend none and tell you to hide out in cash. It evaluates these once a week to help you resist the urge to day trade. But the actual algorithm looks back over several months of trading information to judge not only what sort of trend, up, down, or sideways, any given security is in, but also it ranks those findings from most promising to least. So, what was it recommending 3 months ago? Well, still QQQ, and over that 3-month period of time, the recommendation would have netted you about 9%. Not bad for a broad sector ETF with a heavy weighting in Apple. Okay, you might say, that's pretty good, but how much can I lose if I follow this particular program? The real answer is potentially quite a lot, but that doesn't help us quantify the downside risk. If we look at this number here, we can see over the last 5 years, which includes ugly bits of 2008 by the way, following this strategy resulted in a maximum drawdown of 18%. That doesn't mean you lose 18% unless you freaked out and sold at the bottom. It means that at some point, you would have seen your balance drop 18% from peak to trough in the last 5 years. There would have been other drops because markets rarely move in a straight line, but so far 18.14% was the biggest. Now, maybe you're concerned that this is a big trading strategy designed to keep you glued to your online broker's website or trading platform. If you look here, you can see that this particular strategy only trades a couple of times a year, and the last trade was changing horses from the S&P 500 ETF to the NASDAQ 100. What you don't see is a bunch of trades trying to capture every thrill and spill emanating out of the 24/7 political blogosphere. Why? Because the FundLogik system is about investing, and investing means concentrating on what drives the longer-term trends in the markets. Politics do have some influence, but not nearly as much as politicians would like us to think. We built the FundLogik system to filter out the noise and focus attention on what is really important. And for us, that is long-term compounding investment performance. We've been in the business for several decades, so we're fully aware that the markets are sometimes volatile, and sometimes whole asset classes are best avoided. That's what the FundLogik system can do for you. Put you into the asset classes that are promising and steer you from the ones that are not at any given time. Leaders and laggards will shift as time goes on. The FundLogik system will make sure that you're on top of those shifts. But when there's no change, the FundLogik system leaves well enough alone. Try us out, build your own investment universe, and harness the power of the FundLogik system. Thank you for watching.